We are a Sri Lankan brand, owned by Sri Lankans, operated by Sri Lankans, founded by Sri Lankans. It's quite an interesting story. So this didn't happen with a proper business plan, a lot of planning, and we thought we're going to do this, did some numbers, etc. That's not how it happened. So basically, I moved to Cheltenham after getting married. Had a little girl at the time. So we kind of thought London is not the place to bring up a family. So we moved here, followed by some of my other cousins. So once they came, they were looking for a place to live. So we found this quite rundown pub. So we had a very good offer on the property. So we took it over, done it up ourselves. Took us like 6 months. Opened it as a pub, a typical English pub, serving a lot of alcohol, cocktails, etc. Obviously, the 4 boys at the time, who are my other 4 co-founders, so 5 of us started this. Obviously, they cook their own meals to eat. So then they simply decided to share their meals with our customers by giving away a plate here and there. So just everybody who tried our food absolutely loved it. That came the idea of making it more of a restaurant as well. Then we got together, done a very basic menu. Only food we knew how to do was Sri Lankan food. Called back home, asked the recipes from our parents, cooked it the way that we cook quite for a large group at home. Start serving food to our customers. And then little we know, 6 months down the line, apparently we were the number 1 restaurant in Cheltenham. Which is quite a surprise, at the same time very pleasant. People were struggling to get a booking, so we keep getting calls from our friends and people who knew, can we get a table? So it obviously became a quite successful business quite quickly. I think it's just the secret is the unique food. So then we obviously decided within our first 12 months, we got another pub in Oxford. And at that point, we done some numbers, created a good business plan, proposed that to a pub company, got that pub, and then rolling out the same thing. Some of the boys out of 5, 3 of them moved to that pub, and they started running it. Then at that point, it became a business. So from there onwards, every year until pretty much COVID hit, we opened a restaurant or 2 every year. So that's sort of a good story, and it wasn't planned, but it happened the right way. There's quite a few actually. I think when it started, it was more of a hobby. Still remember, we celebrated getting £1,000 sale. I think that was for a month. It was quite big achievement because it was a sort of a hobby, etc. So that's kind of a pretty good milestone. And we celebrated our first year anniversary. We had our second site, so that's another quite exciting milestone. Then I think every time we start getting. We celebrated when we had £100,000 a month sale. Then we celebrated getting 1 million for a year. And then now we just celebrating getting 10 million for a year. So kind of like every time we grew up, because obviously I'm from numbers. And also I think we always celebrate when we done X amount of covers. We had a busy night. Some sites sometimes make £10,000 a day. So we always celebrate those kind of little occasions. Opening a site is always a good milestone. Having site number 5, we kind of thought, okay, that's great. So we're actually waiting for our double-digit site number 10. So we kind of agreed head terms with another restaurant operator. So we're going to get another restaurant quite soon, hopefully. So I think all those things are milestones. And then we celebrate our 5th year birthday. So that's another quite milestone. I think also I do remember putting the 500 staff member into our system. And that's quite a good milestone. I think now at the moment we are having 300 staff. So currently that 300 staff mile cap is a good place to celebrate. And then again, we open an office in Colombo to move some of our head office functions. That's always a bit of a milestone kind of moving it to a different country. It's not necessarily a restaurant, but it's part of our business, quite important part. So that's a quite big. We took office in Colombo, doing those things, and so quite memorable, nice things to kind of remember and celebrate. This thought process came during COVID. Like a lot of people stayed at home, didn't have much things to do, so everybody got thinking. So I think it's a quite good time to sit down, relax, and reflect on things. So we kind of thought, what's kind of our barriers to grow as a business and take it to a next level, give our food to a wider audience, go a further field. So very simply thinking, I think it's just having really good staff, and the labor, and the biggest resource in a business is our staff. So having the right staff is always been a problem, especially in UK. People see hospitality as an in-between job. It's not a career, so it's very difficult to find people to work in hospitality. There are people, but keeping them for long term is always a challenge. That's our number one issue, not just us, pretty much all hospitality operators. Number two would be capital, having that cash to inject and open a new restaurant. We open all our restaurants with our own money, reinvesting back into the business, so we don't have any investors or any lenders. So there's nobody to tell us what to do, so it's quite a good place to be. So we kind of thought those are the two barriers that we really have to overcome. So when we look at Sri Lanka, we kind of realize both are in bundles. We got really good hospitality professionals, because hospitality, we take it seriously, being a very tourist-led country, tourism-led country. People think it as a career. People really, we are a hospitable nation. We enjoy hospitality. We became a A-rated sponsor. So we started sponsoring a lot of our key staff, like general managers, restaurant managers, kitchen staff, chefs, kitchen managers. So we started bringing a lot of people. So that kind of we overcame using Sri Lanka for that matter. And also we started using, when we started as a small business, we sourced a lot of our ingredients from the UK, obviously people who bring them from various Asian countries. So we kind of thought, that's always a bit of a challenge as well, because we used to buy things from people who sell for retails, but we wanted it for catering, for restaurants. So we reached out to Sri Lankan suppliers, and we worked with Finagal to get our rotis and for kottu, etc. We started bringing coconut milk, coconut oil, because they're sometimes they can be short in supply, and we can't have our UK suppliers dictate our business, or we are low in stock, and we can't tell our suppliers, or we don't have this particular item. So we eliminated that by coming to Sri Lanka. So then to address the capital, opening new sites, we kind of realized there's quite a bit of money going around in Sri Lanka as well, like people who are very keen to invest and who are entrepreneurial, who got the funds to invest, who wants to invest in a foreign currency, wants to have a diversified portfolio, kind of de-risk certain things in Sri Lanka with recent economic climate, deficiencies in foreign reserves, etc. So we kind of thought there's an opportunity for some Sri Lankans to grow with the brand. So that's the reason we kind of thought, with the capital requirement to grow new sites, we should reach out to Sri Lanka. So we kind of thought, okay, for us to go to Germany, for example, we don't want to go to Germany and say we are a British business selling Sri Lankan food and we are coming to Germany. I think that story is not as powerful as we go and tell them we are a Sri Lankan brand, we are a Sri Lankan business, we sell Sri Lankan food, we are authentic. That's the story we want to say. So for us to become a Sri Lankan brand, Sri Lankan business, we need to come to Sri Lanka. And that's why we started part of that process. We start moving some of our head office functions, even to menu development, creating new menu ideas. They all have is in Sri Lanka. So we work with some good chefs in Sri Lanka, just getting the ideas, fine-tune our menu. So we kind of whenever we go outside UK, we want to tell we are a Sri Lankan business, owned by Sri Lankans, operated by Sri Lankans, founded by Sri Lankans, set up in Sri Lanka. Everything is coming from Sri Lanka. So that's kind of the ultimate bigger picture that we want to achieve. And it's a very small step of coming to Sri Lanka now. And then one of the things we always decided, we can't be a Sri Lankan brand if Sri Lankans don't know about us. So that's the reason we are looking to open a restaurant in Sri Lanka. And I think it's very difficult to beat my mom's cooking, but we still want to have a Sri Lankan restaurant serving our cocktails, our British sort of influenced drinks, etc. But then the whole idea of coming to Sri Lanka is based on those few ideas.